A very good morning from the KTN News Center. I am Ben Kitili. It is Sunday, the 11th day of December 2016. Sunday edition begins right now. But before we go to our show and my guest, let's bring you the latest from that breaking news, horrific news that Kenyans have woken up to this morning. That is coming from Naivasha, from Karai area as you approach Naivasha on the Nairobi, Kijabe, Naivasha, Nakuru Road. And that is a developing story that we have been keeping an eye on here on KTN News. And of course, the latest is that Naivasha Traffic Office has been reporting the latest, saying that, of course, reporting that incident that happened around 9:45 last night. That is along the Nairobi-Nakuru Road at around Karai area near Kinungi as you approach Naivasha. And the latest that we do know is that so far we have been able to get and confirm reports that 40 people are feared dead in that horrific accident. This was involving a trailer and not a tanker, as many news outlets have been reporting all morning. It has been a trailer. It is a trailer that had Ugandan registration plates that are UAK 519C. It was headed from Nairobi towards the direction of Naivasha. It was on reaching that location, that Karai area, that is where the trailer is reported to have hit a speed bump and lost control before ramming into the vehicle that was in front of it before exploding into flames. And that fire spread very quickly, burning down up to 12 vehicles along that spot in Karai. Those are the details from the Naivasha Traffic Base as well as the National Disaster Management Unit. And of course, that is what we do know. And what the Traffic Base in Naivasha is reporting is that one of the vehicles that were burned in that accident was a Government of Kenya Land Cruiser GKB 961C belonging to the GSU, which was carrying several General Service Unit officers, all of who perished in that accident. What we do know also is that so far 26 bodies have been pulled out of that accident, burned beyond recognition and taken to the Naivasha County Referral Hospital mortuary. Survivors have also been taken to the Naivasha District Hospital. Two of them very critically injured have been rushed to the Kenyatta National Hospital. Police officers have been on the scene all morning trying to attend to the scene. They are at this moment clearing clearing the road, which is usually a very busy road, one of the busiest highways in this country. And of course, what we have been able to gather from Victor Ogale, our KTN reporter in the county of Nakuru, is that there are a lot of onlookers, very curious, trying to see what has been happening, and police having a hard time. Police as well as other rescuers having a hard time trying to clear the area and work as effectively as possible. And what we also do know is that the National Disaster Management Unit, Boss Pius Masai, has advised members of the public looking for their missing loved ones to report the traffic department at the Naivasha police station. He says that most of the bodies were burnt beyond recognition. Of course, this would bring a very uncomfortable and painful time for some of those people potentially have lost their loved ones, because it would the process of recognition would require DNA tests. As we speak, the National Disaster Management Unit are on the scene. The Kenya Red Cross have been on the scene all night. Also the Naivasha Fire Brigade. Also the National Transport and Safety Authority, as well as Ministry of Transport officials led by the Principal Secretary Irungu Nyakera. But as we speak, up until now, almost 12 hours later, we are yet to get an official statement from the government of Kenya concerning this horrific accident that happened on at Karai as you approach Naivasha on the Naivasha-Nakuru Road. A lot of questions have been raised by Kenyans, especially on social media. This has been trending, rightfully so. Two questions being raised is at the time that trailer was on the road carrying the substance that we have just confirmed for you at around 9:45, almost 10 p.m. And the route that this particular trailer was using as well. And this is the Nairobi Mai Naivasha Road. Trailers and tankers are supposed to be using the Nairobi Mai Naivasha Road, not the Nairobi Kijabe Road, which was being used. So very many questions Kenyans are asking, and we are asking, questioning the time that trailer was on the road, as well as the route that has been used by that trailer, given that there are a lot of traffic checks and roadblocks on that road, manned by police officers. How was that trailer allowed to be on that particular spot at that particular time of the night? Also, police are saying that at the scene, 2 containers of premium bond substance were recovered and are suspected to be among the items that were carried by that trailer, the inflammable substance that caused that a fire. The scene has been attended at necessary action. And of course, we have been able to get a reaction. We have been able to get a message, a statement from the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, CORD leader Raila Odinga. Let me just read that statement for you, that our country has woken up to the terrible news of tens of lives lost on the road in Naivasha last night in what is one of the most horrific accidents this year. This is a terrible time and a painful way to lose a family member or a friend just when we are looking forward to marking Christmas and celebrating the new year. Mama Ida and I pass our deepest condolences to the families that have lost loved ones in this accident and wish speedy recovery to the wounded. I understand that a number of our security officers who are on the road on duty are among the casualties. It is a terrible loss to the country. For the families, we join the families and colleagues in prayer. We also extend, the statement by Raila Odinga continues, deep appreciation of the security officers at the scene of the accident, struggling at this moment to identify bodies and to get the traffic moving again. They have shown dedication and diligence. And I urge all road users and general public to cooperate with them and help lessen the burden of work at the scene. At this moment, the statement continues of the year. It is our prayer that every Kenyan will exercise caution on the road so we avoid loss of lives. That is a statement by the CORD leader Raila Odinga on the accident. Those are pictures that were coming to us from all night. We are still trying to get our video signal up and running there in Naivasha. Victor Ogali is on the scene. He has been trying to piece together as much information as possible from the authorities, from the rescue operators, and of course from the medical people there, the Kenya Red Cross, trying to see what will be happening at around 11, around 40 minutes from now. There is expected some communication from the government, a joint press conference. We shall be bringing that to you.
Kukomesha hii mambo zote na kusema ni pole kwa wale watu wameshikwa na hii janga. Kuna watu wameungua kabisa, wamebaki hata mafupa. Kuna watu pia hata hawezi okotwa, wamekwisha kabisa. Magari yameugua, ya bei kali, mioyo mingi imedhoofika. Tungesema ni pole sana, na tutafanya maombi rasmi, tutapangana na makanisa na pia maaskofu wa hii area ili tuweze kuombea hii barabara na tuweze pia kuweza kuhifadhi wale wote wameachwa.
Tulikuwa tunatoka Subukia, na tulikuwa tunatoka Dawari ya my brother, my older brother. Na tumekuja all the way from Subukia hadi hapa Naivasha. Na I was driving the vehicle, my own. And ndipo tumefika hapa, mimi nikaona sauti iko kwa mlima juu. Kuangalia nimeona moto kama imekuja kwetu. Nimejaribu kufungua map.
Breaking news. Developing story from Naivasha. We have been following up here on KTN News all morning. And of course, in a short while, we shall be taking you for a joint press conference by the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior, that is Joseph Nkaiseri, the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, Bas Gulet, the head of the Kenya Red Cross, will also be there, as well as the National Disaster Management Unit standby for that. But for now, let's take you to the Naivasha Hospital mortuary, where KTN News reporter Victor Ogale is live. Of course, 26 bodies we have confirmed were pulled out of that accident, burned beyond recognition. We are getting unconfirmed reports that 40 people have lost their lives in this accident. Let's now take you live to the Naivasha Hospital mortuary. Victor Ogale is coming to us live from there. Victor, good morning.
Well,
Victor,
Ben,
what can you tell us?
Outside the Naivasha Hospital mortuary, and there is a contingent. I mean, there's human activity here. People have come here to look for their loved ones. The people have tried tracing their loved ones as from yesterday night when the incident happened. They cannot get them on phone. They've gone to the scene. Perhaps they cannot establish if they are survivors or not. So they've come here, and the medical staff here trying to set up a tent, perhaps so that we can have some sort of protocol, some sort of procedure, so that we don't have everyone rushing inside the morgue, perhaps to identify the bodies. Remember, these are bodies that, some of the bodies that have been burnt beyond recognition. And perhaps we'll need to have some sort of DNA test done to some of the bodies. So even some of the relatives might be forced to be taken through some sort of counseling process and guidance, so that they may view the bodies. And yesterday night I managed to get his name is Stephen Mwangi. He's the chairman of the Border Association here in Naivasha, and he was in his normal duties, and he managed to get there among the first people at the scene. Remember, Ben, a while ago I told you that the border operators, it's high time they also got some sort of training, perhaps from the government and the agencies concerned, because every time there is a casualty, there is an accident, they're the first people to get to the scene. Perhaps if such people got some training, perhaps in first aid, they might end up saving more lives. And let us talk to Mwangi perhaps and give us a glimpse of the first account of what he saw. Bwana Mwangi, karibu, labda tueleze tu jana ulisikia nini ama nini kilichotokea ndio kaenda pale?
Mimi niliweza kuona Land Cruiser imepanda.
Tuongeza sauti.
Nikaifuata nyuma. Nikapata gari imeanguka aina ya lori. Imegonga gari 11. Gari kama 5 zilikuwa zinachomeka. Tukajaribu sana. Tukiwa hapo bado gari ya kuzima moto ilikuja na maji, na tukajaribu kuzima. Tukajaribu kutoa watu wenye walikuwa ndani. So tuliendelea namna hiyo, na by the ikifika saa 7 tulikuwa tumemalizia. Na wakati nilikuwa pale nikifanya hesabu, niliona kama watu 42 waliweza kufa na 3 wakapelekwa hospitali.
Ngoja kwanza nikatize Ben, he has mention something vital, perhaps, because there are very conflicting numbers. NTSA have told us that they have 33 bodies, and he's just said that he managed to do a head count of 42 bodies. And another thing pia, ningetaka unieleze, watu wanasema ilikuwa lori tanka ya mafuta. Labda wewe ulikuwa pale, uliona ni gari aina gani? Ilikuwa gari ya mafuta ama ilikuwa gari aina gani?
Ilikuwa gari ya Uganda, zile zinabeba mananasi, na ilikuwa imebeba ile gamu ya kutengeneza viatu, glue. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa imebeba, na hiyo ndio iliribuka ikasambazia hizi gari zingine, ndio zikaungua. Haikuwa gari ya mafuta, na bado ilikuwa imebeba tu vitu tu kutengeneza sweet za lollipop na mikeka ya gari ilikuwa ndani. So hii ni kama venye wanaenda Nairobi wanapata squad ya kurudi. So ilikuwa gari ya mafuta. So hiyo gari ilikuwa ya mafuta venye tu niliona.
Na umesema while you're counting the bodies, mulihesabu, ulikuwa peke yako ama labda kulikuwa nao maafisa wengine wa polisi na wale walifika kuokoa? Uliona mili ngapi? Nataka uclarify vizuri ijulikane.
Mimi niliona mili 45 yenye nilihesabu, tukiwa na hao maafisa wa polisi, na tulikuwa tunahesabu tukiweka kwa gari ikiteremshwa Naivasha kwa mochari.
Labda hali ilikuwa aje pale mlipofika mara ya kwanza? Sababu unaona kuna baadhi ya magari yaliungua kabisa na kuna yale ambayo hayakuungua kabisa, na kuna baadhi ya watu walikuwa wanakuja, walipofika pale wakaamua ku keep distance, wakakaa mbali kidogo.
Venye tulifika pale watu hawakukaribia, lakini sisi kama watu wa boda boda tumezoea kukaribia pale, tukaweza kusaidiana na watu wa kuzima moto, na kuna gari pale ilikuwa imechomeka. Tulijaribu sana kuchukua mashoka, tukaibomoa, tukatoa ile mili ilikuwa ndani. So sisi watu wa bodaboda tulijaribu sana by the way, na watu wa hiyo area. Sisi hakuna mali yani tuliona kama tu, wacha niseme tulisaidiana na wengine kutoa hiyo mili.
Ukimalizia kama afisa, umeniambia wewe ni official, the chairman wa Boda Boda Association hapa. Labda sababu mambo yakitokea nyinyi ufika mbele, sababu unajua pikipiki inaweza ikapenya ipite misitu kama gari. Mungependa labda washikadau, serikali wafanye nini ili, sababu mkifika pale unaweza kuokoa maisha watu wawili watatu baada ya kufika, ama badala ya kufika pale na kusimama kutizama tu?
Mimi Kenya ningeomba serikali kama sisi watu wa boda boda, sisi ufika pale mbele, itupeleke tu shule tusomee maneno ya first aid. Hiyo ni kitu inaweza kutuokolea sana. Juu fanya tumefika pale tunaweza kuwa tumeokoa watatu wa nne, kama jana tuningekuwa tumeokoa pengine watu watano wa sita. So labda hao watu wangechomeka wenye walichomeka. So na wenye walikufa, unajua kuna hao walikufa bila kuchomeka. So sisi tungesaidiana kama serikali tu ingetusaidia kutupeleka shule ya first aid.
Well, Ben, you've heard it from one of the eyewitnesses who got there, was among the first people to get there. When he heard the police Land Cruiser and the sirens blazing, he decided to follow it. He has a very interesting story. He decided to follow it, and when he reached there, that's when he realized there was an accident. He alerted his colleagues who are fellow Boda Boda operators from Naivasha who rushed there, as well as his colleagues from the Karai area. And together with the police officers, they helped each other in the rescue operations. Ben?
Victor, what can you tell us about the process of identifying maybe bodies of loved ones by family members? What is the police saying?
It hasn't started yet. They've already set a tent. There are 2-3 tents that have been set there inside. Just as you enter the morgue, the main gate of the morgue, it has been set there. So perhaps in a few times, because remember, there are so many people who've come here to look for their loved ones, and perhaps they need to have a particular order so that you just don't have everyone getting inside the morgue. Even us, we have been barred from accessing, or rather going past the main gate, and that is something they are sorting out. Remember, I also told you that they need to cancel the people who are going to see them, because the images that they're going to see, or rather the bodies that they're going to see, they are not your normal cup of tea. They are bodies that have been burned, and they're in a very, very, very bad state, Ben.
And what's the situation like from where you are at around? I can see some people around you who are at the Naivasha Hospital mortuary. Is it potential family members? Are they just onlookers? What is the situation like there at the mortuary?
Ben, it is a mixture of family members and others who are just good Samaritans. Others have gotten the news perhaps in the morning or yesterday night, and they just come to witness. And I mean, there are people who have soft hearts, and they've just come to see, perhaps to see maybe if they can help, if they can lend a hand. Of course, there are others who are just curious onlookers who just want to see and rather confirm that indeed this incident happened, or rather their bodies inside here. Though they are potential family members, we managed to talk to a few who are here, and they are at the gate. They are waiting to see perhaps if they can gain access inside and perhaps identify the bodies, or even confirm if their family members are part of those that perished, or rather part of those that survived. Remember, there are some of the survivors that were taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital, which is in Nairobi, Ben.
So Victor, I want you to paint a picture, a very clear picture for our viewers, because it has been very confusing all morning. Many news outlets are reporting what exactly happened at Karai on that Nairobi, Naivasha, Nakuru highway. Reports of there being a tank, of course, we have sought to clarify. But just take us through what exactly happened late last night. What was involved? Who was involved? What do we know so far?
Ben, there was a lorry that was traveling down towards, it had Ugandan registration plates, so perhaps it was going back to Kampala or perhaps Uganda. And the terrain that is there, the road at the Karai area, as you approach Naivasha, there are speed bumps that were put there a few months ago by the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA. And that has also been a complaint by some of the motorists, even especially the truck drivers and the drivers of PSVs. They say that some of the bumps are not leveled in a good manner. And perhaps if it is a new driver who is not perhaps familiar with the route, once you hit the first bump after you finish going downhill, perhaps you may panic. And that could have been the reason, because perhaps the driver saw that there are vehicles ahead of him that have stopped. Because normally if you're driving and you get to a bump, you have to slow down. And if a car ahead of you slows down, negotiates the bump, the other one. So perhaps this driver, it was more of a human error. Perhaps he panicked and hit one car, and the other one hit the other car. Then it burst into flames. Remember, it was carrying glue, and this is a highly flammable substance, plus other substances. And it had assorted goods, because there are some white plastic sticks for people who love candy, or rather lollipop or sweets. The holder, the lower part of the sweet, the white one. Those sticks are so many. There are so many of them there at the scene. It was ferrying. And perhaps most of these truck drivers or lorry drivers, what they do once they've delivered their goods, when they are going back to their destination, they tend to make some money off, or rather what we'd call moonlighting. They tend to make some extra shilling. So they end up carrying goods perhaps for passengers, or rather for customers. And perhaps they could have been ferrying something even they were not aware of. That's just an assumption, Ben. And because there were very different things inside there. There was also canvas. There is this particular canvas, perhaps if you're doing construction work, you may use to lay down. Sometimes it's even people who are doing design for vehicles, and they're doing the interior and the leather work. They use it. It is also there. There are a few rolls that are there on the ground. So those are some of the goods that they were carrying. And also involved our security officers, their GSU officers were involved as well, administration police officers. Ben, remember yesterday President Uhuru Kenyatta had a meeting in Bomet, and it cannot be established if those security officers were coming from the president's function. That one I cannot confirm, but perhaps there are rumors that they may have been part of the security detail that was down there, but that is subject to confirmation, and we are waiting for them. For the concerned parties. We have the county commander, Rift Valley County, Wanyama Musiambo is here, is at the scene, and he said that he was going to give us a brief in the next half an hour. Perhaps you're waiting to see if they're going to tell us who were the people who were there particularly, and also give us a correct figure, because we are having conflicting figures. The Red Cross tweeted they had 40 bodies. An eyewitness account says 42. Others are saying 45. There are people who are saying 35. I mean, we have conflicting reports of the number of bodies, and that is why we are here, and we wanted to go even to the morgue and just do a head count and just establish that this is the number of people that perished, male and female. Ben?
Victor, what can you tell us about the National Disaster Management Unit's communication about maybe people who may be looking for their loved ones?
It is now that they are starting to set base because they got here in the morning. Remember, the first people who got at the scene yesterday were part of the security, the rescue operations, the police officers from Naivasha here, and they tried to save and transport the survivors that were there to the medical facilities. So the disaster management unit has arrived in the morning, as well as NTSA officials, and this is when they are trying to establish. Remember, at the scene, we have over 1,000 people. There is human activity, human traffic, people, even cars that are driving either down to Nakuru or up to Nairobi. People are stopping, parking their cars, even PSV vehicles. People are parking buses and coming out, perhaps taking photographs. So this process might be slow. It might take a snail speed because you have so many people, and perhaps coordinating, it might take a while. Perhaps they may need some sort of PA system, so they may have some sort of control unit where the people can go perhaps and register and say, perhaps I spoke to my loved one, I spoke to my husband, I spoke to my wife as she was driving to Nairobi, I spoke to my brother and I cannot get them on phone and they told me they had reached Naivasha. Perhaps that is the procedure they're going to use. Another issue, Ben, caution to the drivers. Either if you're going down towards Nakuru or climbing up, perhaps when you get there, just do what you're supposed to do as a driver, because you end up causing a traffic snarl up because people are slowing down, removing their phones, taking photographs or even videos, yet they are driving, they are on the steering wheel. That is also another offense according to the Traffic Act here in Kenya. Just please drive, because when you slow down, the cars behind you slow down. And even the people who are there, the people from the neighboring villages who've come, people also who've come to look for loved ones, curious onlookers, they're making the situation a bit confusing. The people are crossing from the left side of the road to the right side of the road, and even the security officers that are there from the traffic department, the administration, police, they're giving them a hard time of controlling people. And remember, there are also speed bumps, so definitely the traffic there is going to slow down. Ben?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Victor Ogale. They are coming to us live from the Naivasha Hospital mortuary, where, of course, there is much activity ongoing. There are curious onlookers, as well as some family members who may have missing loved ones, suspected to be to have been in that horrific accident that happened in the late last night at around 10 p.m. That is according to the National Disaster Management Unit. Now, let's just give you the latest of what we do know so far. First of all, the National Disaster Management Unit has been making a communication advising members of public looking for missing loved ones to report to the Traffic Department, Naivasha Police Station, saying that most bodies have been burnt beyond recognition and would require a DNA test for recognition. And also what we have understood is that it was not a fuel tanker, not a chemical tanker that caused this horrific accident. It was a trailer headed possibly to Uganda because it had Ugandan registration plates, number UAK 519C, a lorry truck that was being driven by unknown persons headed towards the direction of Naivasha. That spot of the accident, the scene of the accident, is Karai area as you approach Naivasha from Kinungi on the Nairobi Kijabe Nakuru Road. And what we do know is that the lorry hit a speed bump, lost control before ramming into a number of cars. The National Disaster Management Unit saying it rammed into the next cars and before bursting into flames. And that fire spread very quickly, burning a total of 13 vehicles, most of them beyond recognition. One of the vehicles involved in that incident was a government vehicle carrying GSU officers, number GKB 961G, a Land Cruiser which was carrying GSU officers. All of the officers on board that vehicle perished in that horrific accident. And also they are reporting that 26 bodies were pulled out of that scene, burnt beyond recognition. Of course, a lot of different figures are coming from Naivasha. The National Transport Safety Authority, NTSA, saying that 33 bodies is what they do have. Victor Ogale has just spoken to Mwangi, who is a member, the head of the Boda Boda unit there at around that area who says that he did a head count alongside some of the rescue operators and counted 45 bodies. Mwangi, who was one of the first people on the scene, counted 45 bodies. Of course, we are expecting a press briefing, a joint press briefing by the head of the Kenya Red Cross, Abbas Guled, and Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior, Joseph Ankaiseri. That press conference will also be addressed by Joseph Boynet, the Inspector General of Police, as well as the National Disaster Management Unit, to just give us what they do have so far. More than 12 hours after this happened, the government yet to give an official statement on this. That is what we have so far. Of course, the diversion traffic base did issue a report just trying to explain what happened late last night. And also they did say that at the scene, 2 containers carrying premium bond substance were recovered and suspected to be among the items that were on that ill-fated lorry. Victor Ogale there and Mwangi did tell us that they were carrying the substance, the glue used to make shoes. That is what was on that lorry that exploded. We are yet to ascertain exactly what was there, but it was highly inflammable substance that on hitting those cars at high speed after that lorry lost control, burst into flames and fire spreading very quickly. Police officers have cleared the scene. What we understand so far is that traffic flow is back to normalcy along that very busy highways. And of course, we are keeping an eye on that for you. We have been able to take you to the Naivasha Hospital mortuary, where possible relatives who may have lost their loved ones are starting to mill. Curious onlookers as well, who have made the work of the police not very easy, also being able to be at the scene. And of course, we will be telling you what will be happening from there. The National Disaster Management Unit advising members of public to report to their missing loved ones at the Traffic Department, Naivasha Police Station. Those are the pictures from late last night. That is what we do know so far. We'll be taking it around in the next 20 minutes to that press briefing by joint press briefing by Abbas Goulet, Joseph Kaiseri, Joseph Boynet, as well as senior officials of the National Disaster Management Unit. Right.
Dream bond, ama nini? Dream bond.
Kunje imepita sasa.
Huko. Apite huko.
Wapita na kitu. Umeona kwa mfano.
Ako wapi?
Kukomesha hii mambo zote na kusema ni pole kwa wale watu wameshikwa na hii janga. Kuna watu wameungua kabisa, wamebaki hata mafupa. Kuna watu pia hata wawezi okotwa, wamekwisha kabisa. Magari yameugua ya bei kali, mioyo mingi imedhoofika. Tungesema ni pole sana, na tutafanya maombi rasmi, tutapangana na makanisa na pia maaskofu wa hii area ili tuweze kuombea hii barabara na tuweze pia kuweza kuhifadhi wale wote wameachwa.
Tulikuwa tunatoka Subukia na tulikuwa tunatoka Dawari ya my brother, my older brother, na tumekuja all the way from Subukia hadi hapa Naivasha, na I was driving the vehicle my own, and ndipo tumefika hapa, mimi nikaona sauti iko kwa mlima juu, kuangalia nimeona moto kama imekuja kwetu, nimejaribu kufungua my map. I tried to open my mouth, my wife. Actually, nimekuwa hard. Now, I don't know where are they. Can you help me? Where can I get them?
Na tuko na shida kwa hii barabara ya accident kila dakika, na lakini ya leo imetusidi juu hakuna mtu ameokolewa. Watu wengi wameweza kuumia, wengine wamechomeka. Hii accident tunahusuni juu yake, na tungeomba tu kama kungewezekana venye tunaweza saidiwa hii bump iondolewe, iache kuonekana juu hiyo gari haiko inajua kama kuna bump, ni gari gani na hii barabara. Kwa hivyo wakati ilikuwa inaenda haiko inajua kama kuna bump, ikarus control. Ile tungeweza ningependa kusema ni kupea pole hiyo familia yote imeondokewa na hao watu. Mungu awape nguvu na awape uwezo wa kuweza kuvumilia katika jina la Yesu.
Today in the evening we have received around 9 patients. 7 of them were admitted in private hospitals.
Developing story, we are keeping an eye here on KTN News, Kenya's premier 24-hour news channel. We have KTN News reporter Victor Ogale at the Naivasha Hospital mortuary. We shall be going back to him to just give us the latest on that. And very shortly, in about the next 15 minutes or so, we shall also be bringing you a press briefing, a joint press briefing by the Interior CS Joseph Nkaiseri, the Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet, the National Disaster Management Unit, as well as the head of the Kenya Red Cross, Abbas Kule. Do stand by for that. Of course, we are seeking to just get the latest on the figures following that horrific accident at Karai around Naivasha, approaching Naivasha from Kinungi on the Nairobi-Kijabe Naivasha Road that has claimed the lives of at least 40 people. We are waiting for the official death toll from the official communication by the government. We understand the rescue operators are still on the scene. The Naivasha Fire Brigade, the National Transport and Safety Authority, members of the Ministry of Transport headed by the Irongo Nyakera, the Principal Secretary. We also have the National Disaster Management Unit as well there. We have the National Transport and Safety Authority. We shall be taking you back to Naivasha very shortly. We shall be taking you to that press briefing, joint press briefing, to just inform the nation on what is happening. We are trying to piece all the pieces of evidence together to just get you the latest, most qualified information on this horrific accident that happened late last night. Of course, we don't have a conventional show here on Sunday edition where we seek to speak about the political happenings of the week, and this week we want to talk about what is happening in the in the opposition, that is the proposed national alliance, the National Super Alliance, and we shall also be talking about just putting into perspective what has been happening across the continent. President Mahama of Ghana losing the election, incumbent, very powerful, but losing to the opposition. It happened in Nigeria as well when President Muhammadu Buhari beat Goodluck Jonathan, an older beating the younger incumbent. It happened in Gambia as well. Is there a wave of some resistance against the incumbency in Africa? We'll also talk about that and put it into perspective, try to see, well, that can happen in Kenya. Is Africa maturing as the different democracies? We are talking about that. My guests are already in the studio. Good morning, gentlemen. I have Professor Eri Tumbo. I have Godfrey Otsotsi, the Secretary General of ANC. I have Dismas Mokua with us. We have a new guest in the studio, Bonke Komwai. Karibu sana. Good morning. Let me start with you, Professor. Let's talk about this accident. A lot of course, it's very sad. Maybe what's your reaction to this?
First, my personal condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones in this accident. Actually, I think every normal person would be horrified by what has happened. But I think the first thing for us to look at is, let's look at it as an accident. Let's not divert and begin apportioning blame. It's an accident. Now, when we begin examining the circumstances surrounding the accident, then we can begin saying, well, this could have been done this way, that could have been done that way. But really, the first thing I would like to say is that I want to pay tribute to all the strong-willed Kenyans, positive Kenyans who rushed to the site to try and help, particularly the police officers and other members of society that rushed in to help victims of this particular accident. Now, in my view, that's what should happen. When something like that happens, it could happen to any of us. When it happens, it's extremely important. And I think this illustrates something very special. There is no tribalism there. There is just human need. There is a human response.
Right.
And this is really how we should be doing our business. At this point, I'm not, until we get the whole story,
right,
then we can begin making specific comments.
Godfrey.
Well, I think it's a sad day for Kenya because losing more than 40 people in such a circumstance is not one of the best things you can wake up in the morning on a Sunday to hear. As a party, I think we sent condolence messages to the families of the victims who have perished in this accident. As the professor says, this is not a time to blame each other of exactly what happened. I think it's a time for us to condole with the families that are affected by this disaster. There are issues that we need to look at as a nation. One is issues around safety regulation in transportation of highly flammable explosives, because this is almost similar to what happened a few years back at Sachangwani, where we lost so many Kenyans in that tragedy. We have issues around response to disasters. We only hear about the National Disaster Management Center when disasters happen. We want to hear a lot about them before disasters happen. We want to have proactive measures towards management of disasters, as opposed to hearing about them when disasters happen. So that is very important issue that needs to be addressed by all stakeholders, so that we don't have many Kenyans losing lives in this kind of circumstances.
Right. Dismas, what's your reaction to this? And maybe as we look at it as an accident, as this gentleman have said, but our work as media is also to ask the hard questions. And one of the questions that we have been asking, a question that Kenyans are asking about the particular time that that lorry was on the road, is it legal, and the route the trailer had taken? I don't know, what's your take on this?
Ben, I'd also like to pass my message of condolences to the families and friends of the affected, and take a departure from what Professor Tumba said, that this is not the time to apportion blame, or this is not the time to start asking ourselves those hard questions. I think we must ask ourselves hard questions. And in Kenya, normally when an accident like this happens, the Good Samaritans who come to assist the guys who've gotten into an accident, they commit a cardinal sin in emergency response. you would think that you're actually doing a good thing, but by just carrying somebody who's been affected, you compromise the spinal cord. If you go to the National Spinal Cord Injury Hospital, the doctors there will tell you that wherever there's an accident, it's advisable that as a passerby, you give minimum intervention, because you may be wanting to carry somebody who's been affected, and in the process, you complicate the matters. By the time they get to the hospital, everything has been compromised. But I think more important is from the government, because when you're talking about road infrastructure and this kind of response, this is supposed to be the space of the government. We are talking of an accident which happened about 12 hours ago, and one is unable to see any coordinated government response. There's an organization called the National Disaster Management Unit, there is NTSA, there's the Kenya Police, there's everybody running around in, like headless chicken, but nobody is actually saving lives. So even for Major General Kaiseri and company to attempt to do a media conference from Nairobi, right now a media conference is not as important as trying to save lives. This action should have been taken 12 hours ago, because, I mean, can you understand that 12 hours after a disaster, there's no coordinated efforts from both national government and county governments to sort out this particular mess? And it's happened since 1963. So one wonders whether we've got leadership both at the national and county levels that are prepared for this kind of emergency situations. And the mark of civilization in any country is how fast you respond to disasters. 12 hours later, there's conflicting information. There's no active movement of people going out, the emergency responders. If you look at situations like America, in this kind of situation, the firefighters, they will be men on the ground doing this kind of work, yes, and the local mayor or the local police sheriff would be giving information to the media. It's unfortunate that the media in Kenya, or even us, we have to rely on a border operator to give us information, telling us that he counted 45 bodies. Really, that's unbelievable. And then attempting to tell us what was contained in that vehicle. How would he be able to tell us that it carried glue? I mean, how would he be able to tell the kind of chemical components carried out? I think as a nation, our response to disasters is so casual and unacceptable.
All right. Bonke, what is your reaction to this?
Allow me to send my condolences to the families affected this issue. It's normal. Kenyans, when such things happen, like what has happened in Naivasha, we react in the government. But what we need to do is that this driver, the driver who was transporting this chemical, of which we don't know, whatever he carried, we need to ask now the government if they did an analysis on whatever this guy carried. Then you'll allow me to disagree with one of my colleagues here who said that, you ask a question, that is it in order for this guy could have transported whatever he was transporting at that particular time. Kenya, we are fighting for this country to be 24-hour economy. So there is no any problem a driver transporting petrol to Uganda.
All right.
It doesn't matter what time he's transporting that petrol. But what happens is that was this...
No, but it's just the law. There is a law against time after which you can transport. The tankers can be on the road.
And there are also designated routes.
Designated routes.
That's why we are saying somebody must be responsible for the issue.
All right.
What has just happened. So the police should tell us, because that's why we have got our traffic police officers on the road at night. They need to tell us what has happened. Now, what I will say about this issue, we don't need to politicize it. Right. Kenyans should come out at this particular moment. If there is any need of blood and anything, someone who can access Naivasha, this is the right time to go to the hospital, donate your blood, help, give any help you can give.
All right.
But we don't need to politicize this. But there are questions we'll raise now to the police. That is something they need to do.
All right. We'll also be having Jared Okello,